Czech and Slovak immigrants settled in Lynn County in the 1850s. Their strong family values and their honest hard work ethic helped Cedar Rapids and all of Lynn County grow and prosper. Now the proud traditions of the Czech and Slovak people are celebrated in this world-class museum and library located along the scenic Cedar River in Cedar Rapids. And today, for the first time, the President of the United States, Bill Clinton, and the presidents of the Czech and Slovak republics joined together to celebrate this symbol of the Czech and Slovak history and heritage of eastern Iowa.
From your 24-hour news source, KCRG TV9. 3 presidents, 1 city. TV9 News presents special live coverage of the dedication of the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Bruce Downey.
And I'm Kelly Schultz. Welcome to TV9's continuing coverage of 3 presidents, 1 city.
The President of the United States is preparing to leave Des Moines at this hour, and in about an hour, if everything goes as planned, Air Force One will be touching down at the Cedar Rapids Airport.
President Clinton will join Vaclav Havel, the president of the Czech Republic, and President Michal Kovac of the Slovak Republic, and both arrived in Cedar Rapids last night. 3 presidents, 1 city, and the city of Cedar Rapids is ready.
Well, the excitement has really been building all week. We could see, the estimates are, we could see a crowd of up to 10,000 people in Czech Village today greeting the 3 presidents when they arrive to take part in the dedication of the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library. That'll be taking place just a little bit later this morning.
Boy, it's going to be exciting. We have live extensive team coverage on this historic day in eastern Iowa. We begin with TV9's Wendy Brown, who is anchoring our coverage live from the Cedar Rapids Airport. Wendy?
Hi, Bruce and Kelly. Well, the crowds are forming out here at the Cedar Rapids Municipal Airport. Not a crowd of spectators, though. We've got a crowd of media surrounding the platform here and a crowd of Secret Service agent and support personnel. We were just allowed in the gates here on the tarmac a few minutes ago. We've been here live at the Cedar Rapids Airport all morning, and the Secret Service is doing what we call a sweep right now. They're taking dogs around, and they're just checking out the cars and equipment and people in the area to make sure that all is safe for the president. You can see behind me, these are the stairs that will go up to Air Force One when the president arrives. The dogs have already sniffed those and checked them out to be okay. And then you look over my left shoulder, and you can see the International Press Corps right there. They just landed on that airplane, and they're getting onto one of the Cedar Rapids municipal buses. We are told there are about 70 people in the International Press Corps. That includes both national people who are covering President Clinton and international journalists. People from Czechoslovakia and Slovakia are here as well.
Thanks, Wendy.
Well, we are very happy today to have with us a gentleman from Cedar Rapids who has, I guess, a 100% Czech background. Yeah. He grew up in Cedar Rapids. His mother, I understand, came from the Czechoslovakia area. I believe it was the Czech. We'll talk to Bob in just a moment. Bob Kazimor, the CEO of RFK Transportation, a trucking company in Cedar Rapids. And Bob, with your Czech background and your experience watching the museum and library grow through the years, this has to be a very proud day for you and everyone in the Czech and Slovak community here.
It truly is, Bruce and Kelly, and it's almost impossible to believe that this is actually happening starting several years ago with the idea of a very small museum and several people just so involved in getting this project put together. And then the museum staff, and Ann Berggren particularly, coming up with this idea of bringing a president to the United States, of the United States, and then the presidents of the 2 Czech republics in. It was a wonderful thought, but highly unlikely. And this young lady put it together and pulled it off, and it's unbelievable, and what a coup for the city of Cedar Rapids and the Czech community.
We're going to be talking to you from time to time through our coverage this morning.
Good.
And again, we're happy to have you with us.
Thank you.
Right now, we've been talking about the development of the museum and library in Cedar Rapids. Well, today is the dedication of this beautiful building that sits along the Cedar River, and we have Scott Sanborn, who is covering the event for us right there at the museum today.
What's going on, Scott?
Well, I'll tell you, the atmosphere is thick with excitement, as you might imagine. The Secret Service just completed its security sweep of the area. Hundreds of people are now filing in the security gates. and we're just waiting for everything to get rolling. I think, yes, it is very chilly out here with temperatures in the 30s and wind chills making it feeling even colder than that, but I think everybody is feeling warm with the excitement of what's going to happen here today. President Clinton, of course, and Czech President Vaclav Havel and Slovak President Michal Kovac will speak to the crowd. They will take part in ceremonies inside the National Czech and Slovak Museum. They'll get a view of the Cedar River and the 16th Avenue Bridge, which is, as you know, a replica of a bridge that crosses the Charles River in Prague, Czechoslovakia. You know, there are so many people here and coming here today, and everyone has their own reason for being here, to see the heads of state address the crowd and just being a part of this event here in Cedar Rapids. It really is exciting, and so many members of the local community have also contributed so much to this event. I mean, we have local restaurants and bakery shops and florists that have contributed their efforts to this. Even members of the Czech Plus Band. Now, the Czech Plus Band will be playing the national anthems of all three countries here today. It originally started as a family band and then eventually grew to like 16 members or so. In fact, they actually had to get the national anthems, the sheet music, to the national anthems of the Czech and Slovak republics from a friend in the former Czechoslovakia in order to play the national anthems here today. And they will start playing here for the crowd at 10 o'clock when Air Force One is scheduled to touch down at the Cedar Rapids Airport.
All right, thanks, Scott.
President Bill Clinton will be arriving in Cedar Rapids at the Cedar Rapids Airport in just a matter of minutes now. And let's go out live right now to TV9's Wendy Brown, who is waiting for Air Force One to touch down. Wendy?
Hi, Bruce and Kelly. That's right. President Clinton will be here in just a few minutes. And I know that because I can see the helicopters coming this way. Apparently, helicopters always precede Air Force One. And so we do know that it's on the way. Brian Girding is here with me now, and he's going to talk a little bit more. I guess you're kind of our resident expert on airplanes.
Well, Air Force One really is a tremendous airplane. It's actually one of a two-airplane fleet. Now, whichever airplane the president is flying in is called Air Force One, and they're 747s made by Boeing Company. The current Air Force One, the current fleet that they have now, has been in existence since 1990, and it was brought in when George Bush was president. These planes are absolutely incredible. The president has his own office, his own bathroom, his own bedroom. They've got a galley where they can feed 100 people at the same time. And the planes carry 102 people, that's passengers and crew. It can fly at a top speed of 700 miles an hour. Now, that's almost the speed of sound. Can go 9,600 miles on a full tank of gas, and they can actually refuel their gasoline in the air. It's just an incredible machine. It has of course, the highest technological electronic devices on the machine, so that the president and all his staff can keep in communication with folks in Washington, D.C., and even folks here in Cedar Rapids.
You know, and Bruce was mentioning to us a little bit earlier that he was actually on Air Force One not too long ago. Can you imagine?
It would certainly be wonderful, that's for sure.
Exciting, very much exciting. Well, now, and actually, Ryan, a little while ago, you had a chance to go around the airport, and you saw some security things happening.
Yeah, obviously, anytime you have a presidential visit, the security is always heightened. We had to go through metal detectors before we could get in here to where we're bringing you the live coverage of the president's arrival. They had to check our equipment, make sure everything was fine. They even had to check the equipment of the Highway Patrol to make sure that everything was safe. In fact, the building behind us, the control tower, there are Secret Service sharpshooters who are stationed on top of the control tower. Now, this is nothing that's out of the ordinary. This is something they do with every single visit, and that is really what makes each presidential visit something that's momentous. They have to do this every day because he's in a different place every day, and it really is just incredible to see the work that they put in to bring the president here.
And I feel very, very safe knowing that we have all of these security people around us. You can see over here on my left-hand side, there's the presidential motorcade that was brought in a couple days ago. You can see the presidential limousine, we believe, is the one with the raised roof there, and then the rest of the support staff. Everybody is there. They've got their engines running and their lights on, and they're ready to take the president to the National Czech and Slovak Museum in downtown Cedar Rapids. It is certainly an exciting time. Earlier today, when I was in the Signature building while they were doing the security sweep here, I actually overheard the security people talking to the people at the motorcade, telling them that they were to keep their lights on at all times and to ignore everyone except for the official people giving them directions. And apparently some of the people that were involved in that situation are actually going to get to meet the president. speaking of meeting the president, of course, 8-year-old Matt Clausen and his family are waiting patiently in the wings. They'll get to speak with the president in just a few minutes at length. If you'll remember, 8-year-old Matthew Clausen is the young man that fought and won his battle against brain cancer. He had a tumor, but that is now in remission for several years. We understand that Matthew did have a minor procedure last night, and so he's feeling a little groggy and maybe not quite 100%, but gosh darn it, he wasn't going to let anything keep him away from the airport to meet Mr. Bill Clinton today. Bruce and Kelly?
Wendy, we should point out that the president is arriving momentarily, but the presidents of the Czech and Slovak republics, Vaclav Havel and Michal Kovac, they arrived in Cedar Rapids last night, so they're already in the city, ready to appear at the dedication today. But traveling with President Clinton today will be Senator Harkin, correct?
Yes, that's right. Senator and Mrs. Harkin will be traveling with us. I believe that we see Air Force One right now. We're trying to get a shot of it. You can see a couple of helicopters flying around right now, and Air Force One, wow, it looks huge from this point. What do you think there, Ryan?
It's an incredible ship. As we said, it's a Boeing 747, can hold 102 people, and I'm not sure that 102 people are on it right now, but it certainly does have the capabilities to do that. What a massive ship.
Oh, and this is so exciting. President Clinton just about to touch down on the tarmac here at the Cedar Rapids Airport. You've got everybody in the press, all cameras turned towards Air Force One as it makes its final approach.
What are there many people out there as far as members of the public to see the president arrive?
You know, Bruce and Kelly, from where I am, I can't see anybody just in the general public. We're right ahead of the tower, and I mean, just a few select people were actually allowed back in this area.
Yeah, and most of the people are, I'm sure, down at the museum. They're coming to see the dedication today.
Certainly, and if you want to get a good look at all three of the presidents here in Cedar Rapids, that would be the place to do it.
And look at that.
Isn't that impressive?
Oh, that is a beautiful plane. An historic day here in Cedar Rapids.
That is a nice touchdown.
Could you imagine being the pilot on that plane? And oh, I'd be so nervous during landings.
That's one, I doubt your coffee would have even jolted much with that touchdown.
The president has landed in Cedar Rapids.
We had a shot just a moment ago of the seal of the President of the United States right there on the side of the plane below the door.
Yes, it is impressive. You can see that the door is just slightly open right now. Oh, and you can see Matthew's family is going out to the airplane right now. There's Matthew and his mother and dad and brother and sister, it looks like. We're told that the brother and sister were at an all-night... Oh, yep, there they are. They were at an all-night slumber party last night, so everybody's feeling kind of groggy. Matthew, again, is the 8-year-old boy from Marion who had brain cancer but is now in remission. Matthew wants to talk to the president about health care reform. He became interested in this, you know, of course, when he got sick, and then he saw that the president's mother had breast cancer, and he thought that the president might be one of those people that could empathize with the situation.
Wait,
here comes the president. There he is, President Bill Clinton, waving to his fans as he gets ready to descend upon the tarmac.
He's got a coat.
Yeah. And then we have Senator Tom Harkin and his wife. I think I can't see too well from where I am, but I believe that's him. And now you can see him meeting with Matthew. He's shaking his hand and saying something. What an exciting moment for 8-year-old Matthew Clausen.
Wendy, are they going to go inside and talk as well? Is he just greeting him out on the tarmac?
Well, you know, I thought that they would, but now I don't know. I just don't know. We'll just have to watch and see.
It looks like they're having a little discussion out there right now.
A little chat.
The president smiling and shaking hands with Matt's family.
And the man who made it happen, Tom Harkin, Senator Tom Harkin. And we should mention that his wife, Ruth, there is the president of the Overseas Private Investment Corporation, part of the Clinton administration. And she's in town for this dedication as well.
What?
Looks like Senator Harkin shivering a
It
little
actually
bit.
looks like the president is giving the National Press Corps a little trouble. They're hollering back and forth with him, and he was joking with them too. Now they're quickly moving the press corps and everyone off the tarmac so that the motorcade can get on its way.
The press corps is now moved. It looks like they're moving off the tarmac now to go and get some photos, perhaps, of him leaving the Cedar Rapids Airport.
They're now starting on that motorcade. No red lights for the presidential motorcade. I can remember reading Ronald Reagan's autobiography. He talked about that was one of the things that really caught him when he started experiencing life, not as president, was having to stop at red lights.
You know, sometimes I have a problem with that myself. I don't have an excuse, though.
10:27, the motorcade is on its way, and he will be arriving, I would say, probably within 10 minutes or so down at the Czech Museum area. And the events as part of the dedication have started down there at the museum. Of course, the big event will be the welcome of the President of the United States and the Presidents of the Czech and Slovak republics who arrived in Cedar Rapids last night.
We're going to go back out to Scott Sanborn, who is at the museum where the president should be there in the next few minutes. Scott, he's on his way.
Yes, he is on his way, and the opening ceremonies have begun here at the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library on the southwest side of Cedar Rapids. Cedar Rapids Mayor Larry Serbisek just finished greeting the crowd, and in his opening remarks he said, "This is more than just a museum dedication." He said, "This is a play written by Vaclav Havel." As you know, Vaclav Havel, a former playwright, and he said, "All of the people here today are players in this play." As you can see over my shoulder right now, Congressman Jim Leach is addressing the crowd. I'll step out of the way. Let's listen in. Well, how timely. Congressman Leach just leaving the stage. On the stage right now is Bob Schaefer, the president of the Board of Trustees for the Czech Museum. And he is introducing now Iowa's governor, the Honorable Terry Branstad.
Thank you. Mr. Schaefer, thank you for that very nice introduction. Congressman Leach, Mayor Serbisek, Ambassador Albright, and of course we are honored and proud to have, for as far as I know, the first time in Iowa history, 3 heads of state going to be with us in Cedar Rapids today: President Havel, President Kovac, and President Clinton. It is indeed a proud moment for the Czech and Slovak people and for all the people of the state of Iowa. On behalf of the people of Iowa, it is truly an honor for me to welcome all of you to the Czech Village, to Cedar Rapids, and to Iowa for the dedication of this Czech and Slovak Museum and Library.
We can see the motorcade in the background there in the picture that we have right now. The president's car has just pulled up and has moved off of our screen, so it should be he should be entering the museum in just about any moment now, so the program should be getting underway in just a matter of minutes again.
And this is truly an historic day for our state. This museum preserves history, but today it makes history as we welcome 3 world leaders to share this day with all of us. And we are proud and honored to have all of them and all of you here. And I have to say it is no accident that we have 3 heads of state here today. They are here because of your hard work, your efforts, and your dedication. And that's something that all of you and all of Iowa can take pride in. But it's only fitting that history is made right here with you because of your accomplishments. After all, the Czech community has been a part of the fabric of Iowa history for nearly 150 years.
The President of the United States, accompanied by the President of the Czech Republic and the President of the Slovak.
Beautiful.
national anthems of the three countries, first the Slovak, then the Czech, and the U.S. And our first speaker today, the President of the Slovak Republic, Michal Kovac.
Vážený pán prezident Clinton, vážený pán prezident Havel, vážení a milí krajania, vzácni hostia.
Mr. President Clinton, Mr. President Havel, dear compatriots, distinguished guests.
Je v tom kus symboliky, že na pôde Múzea amerických Čechov a amerických Slovákov sa stretávajú traja prezidenti. Prezidenti krajín, ktoré napriek mnohým rozdielnostiam majú mnoho spoločného. Napríklad zápas o demokraciu, ľudskosť, ale aj to, že dva neveľké stredoeurópske národy mali vždy pozitívny vzťah k veľkým Spojeným štátom americkým a kus ich dejín sa odohral práve na pôde Spojených štátov amerických.
It is partly symbolic that three presidents meet in the Museum of American Czechs and Slovaks. Presidents of the countries, which in spite of a number of differences do share a lot. We share our common struggle for democracy and humanity, and also the fact that two small Central European nations have long-lasting positive relations to the United States, where part of their history took place.
O prirodzenosti našich dobrých vzťahov môžeme hovoriť práve vďaka jedinečnej historickej skúsenosti našich národov. Mnohí Slováci našli na americkom kontinente svoju novú domovinu v časoch, ktoré pre nás znamenali azda najťažšie chvíle novodobých dejín. Prišli sme v troch veľkých vlnách. Najskôr za prácou, neskôr z odporu voči komunistickej diktatúre a nakoniec na úteku pred tankami vojsk Varšavskej zmluvy, ktoré prišli zadusiť obnovujúci sa duch demokracie v strednej Európe.
Thanks to this unique historic experience of our nations, we can speak of our good relations as something natural. Many Slovaks found their new home in the American continent in the most difficult times of our not distant history. They came in three big waves. First to seek work, later because of their resistance against the communist dictatorship, and at last they escaped in front of the tanks of the Warsaw Pact armies, which tried to suffocate the democratic spirit in Central Europe.
Vo všetkých týchto krízových obdobiach, ktoré vyhnali do sveta 100 000 našich rodákov, väčšina z nich našla otvorenú náruč práve tu v Spojených štátoch amerických. Naši rodáci boli vždy dobrými americkými patriotmi, aktívne sa podielali na rozkvete svojej novej vlasti. Školu demokracie, do ktorej sa tak skvelo zapojili, nepomáhali rozvíjať iba tu, v podmienkach, kde sa zrodila, ale aj v krajine, v ktorej sa narodili.
Our country, most of our compatriots who were chased to the world in thousands, found open arms here in the United States. Our countrymen have always been good American patriots, and they actively participated in the flourishing development of their new homeland. But they did not help to develop the school of democracy only here, under the conditions where the democracy actually was born, but also in the country of their origin.
Práve americkí Slováci si najviac uvedomovali potrebu oslobodenia národa spod uhorského útlaku a v Pittsburghu a v Clevelande podpísali závažné dohody s predstaviteľmi českej politickej reprezentácie o vzniku a štátoprávnom usporiadaní vznikajúceho nového štátneho útvaru Československa.
Especially the American Slovaks have crucially realized the necessity to free the nation from Hungarian oppression, and they signed important agreements in Pittsburgh and Cleveland, together with the Czech political representatives, on the establishment of a new state, Czechoslovakia.
V tejto súvislosti rozhodne musím spomenúť aspoň jedno meno, ktoré zdobí slovensko-americké vzťahy, aj keď rad Slovákov, ktorí sa významne podielali na ich upevňovaní a upevňovaní demokracie v Európe a vo svete, by mohol byť dlhý. Myslím teraz na doktora Štefana Osuského, počas 14 rokov predsedu kontrolnej komisie Spojených národov, ktorý mal veľmi blízky vzťah k americkému prezidentovi Wilsonovi.
Even the list of Slovaks who took an important part in strengthening the Slovak-American relations and democracy in Europe and in other parts of the world is a long one. I have to mention at least one name in this connection. It is Dr. Štefan Osusky. He was the head of the United Nations Control Commission for 14 years, and he had very close relations with President Wilson.
Bol to on, ktorý mal vplyv na usporiadanie stredoeurópskeho regiónu po prvej svetovej vojne. Bol aj osobným poradcom pre otázky strednej a východnej Európy ďalších dvoch významných amerických prezidentov, Franklina D. Roosevelta a Harryho Trumana. Práve v osobnosti Štefana Osuského vidím jeden z najkrajších príkladov lojality Slovákov k vláde Spojených štátov amerických, k ľudu Spojených štátov amerických, ale aj jeden z najkrajších príkladov horlivého demokrata, ktorý vedel skĺbiť do harmonickej jednoty ciele patriota a vnímavosť osobnosti, schopnej rozumieť smerovaniu a potrebám času, v ktorom pôsobil.
He had influenced the rearranging of Central European region after World War I. He acted as a personal advisor of other two great American presidents, Franklin D. Roosevelt and Harry Truman. The personality of Štefan Osusky is, I think, one of the most beautiful examples of Slovaks' loyalty to the US government and to its people, but at the same time, it is one of the most beautiful examples of an enthusiastic Democrat who was able to bring into harmony the goals of a patriot with a sensibility of personality, able to understand the tendencies and needs of the time he lived in.
Štefana Osuského spomínam preto, lebo aj súčasnosť potrebuje svojich novodobých hrdinov našej trojstranej, ale aj širšej stredoeurópskej a svetovej diplomácie. Potrebujeme obnoviť a upevniť vo vzájomnej dôvere prirodzenosť historicky priaznivo sa rozvíjajúcich vzťahov, ktoré boli na celé polstoročie násilne prerušené. Potrebujeme rozvinúť príklad súžitia, schopného opierať sa o pripravenosť zjednocovať, stavať, upevňovať a schopného aj prípadné vývinové etapy prekonávať v duchu priateľstva a spolupráce.
I am mentioning Štefan Osusky because we need also today new heroes of our trilateral and also widest Central European and world diplomacy. What we need is to renew and strengthen the mutual trust and nature of our historically positive relations, which have been forcibly interrupted for half a century. We need to develop an example of coexistence, ready to unite, build up and strengthen, ready to overcome possible difficulties in the spirit of friendship and cooperation.
Slovenská republika a Česká republika, štáty dvoch vzájomne si blízkych národov, vznikli zo spoločného štátneho útvaru pokojnou cestou rokovaním. Som hrdý na tento pozitívny historický precedens. Preto som presvedčený, že aj slovenská a česká komunita v zahraničí, osobitne tu v Spojených štátoch amerických, nadviažu na tento precedens a nájdu dostatok dôvodov na vzájomný dialog, na vzájomnú kooperáciu pri dosahovaní našich spoločných cieľov, pri rešpektovaní všetkých osobitostí.
The Slovak Republic and the Czech Republic, states of very close nations, arose from the common state in a peaceful way by negotiations. I am proud of this positive historic precedence. Therefore, I am convinced that the Czech and Slovak communities abroad, and especially here in the United States, will follow these precedents, and they will find enough reasons for mutual dialogue, for cooperating in reaching our mutual goals, while respecting all differences.
Určité paralely a symboliku nášho dnešného stretnutia by sme mohli rozvíjať ešte dlho. Je to téma, ktorú si treba sústavne pripomínať a rozvíjať, lebo jej životnosť je v našom dlhodobom záujme. Slovenská republika sa vracia tam, kam kultúrne a historicky patrí, do sveta demokracie a prosperity. Preto sme radi, že popri dobrých slovensko-českých vzťahoch môžeme suverénne nadviazať aj na hlboké tradície slovensko-amerických vzťahov. Je v tom náš národný príspevok k stabilite v strednej Európe, pre ktorú sme pripravení urobiť čo najviac, aby sme do nášho priestoru a do tohto času vyžarovali signály pokoja a mieru.
We could spend a lot of time contemplating about the parallels and symbols of our today's meeting. It is a topic worth to remind and to develop because its liveliness is in our long-term interests. The Slovak Republic is returning to where it culturally and historically belongs, to the world of democracy and prosperity. Therefore, we are glad that along with good Czech-Slovak relations, we can follow also the deep traditions of Slovak-American relations. This is our national contribution to stability in Central Europe, for which we are prepared to do our utmost to send signals of peace and stability to our space.
Toto národné, slovenské a české múzeum obsiahlo pozitíva minulosti. Som presvedčený, že my, dnešní politici, ale ani tí, čo prídu po nás, stránky vzájomnej histórie nepopíšu len temnými farbami. Predpokladom na to môže byť aj táto chvíľa stretnutia prezidentov našich troch krajín, ktorá potvrdzuje pripravenosť našich troch národov vložiť do pokladnice spoločných dejín nový vklad. Želám si, aby bol na prospech všetkým, rovnako Slovákom i Čechom, Američanom i národom Európy. Ďakujem za pozornosť.
The National Czech and Slovak Museum has embraced positive examples from the past. I am convinced that we, today's politicians, as well as our successors, will not write the pages of our common history only in dark colors. This moment, the meeting of the presidents of the three countries, could be one of the prerequisites confirming that our nations are ready to come with a new contribution to the treasury of our common history. I wish that this contribution brings benefit to all of us, equally the Slovaks, the Czechs, the Americans, as well as to the nations of Europe. Thank you for your attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Havel.
Dear Presidents, Mr. Governor, Senators and Congressmen, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you will excuse me for speaking in Czech, but I really do think that the occasion warrants it. Když jsem cestoval sem do Cedar Rapids a zamýšlel se nad významem své cesty, vzpomněl jsem si mimo jiné na jedno malé nádraží nedaleko Prahy a na jedno malé nádraží nedaleko odtud. Připomněl se mi také osud muže, jehož životní pouť vedla před 100 lety právě mezi těmito dvěma body a na hudbu, která ho na této cestě doprovázela. Těmi nádražími jsou, jak sami tušíte, Nelahozeves u Prahy a Spillville v Iově. Tím mužem je Antonín Dvořák a onou hudbou jsou české a americké melodie, z nich vznikla jedinečná novosvětská symfonie.
When I traveled here to Cedar Rapids and pondered upon the meaning of this trip, I thought, among other things, of a small train station not far away from Prague and a small train station not far away from here. I recalled the fate of a man who 100 years ago made the journey between these two places, and I thought of the music which accompanied him as he went. Some of you may have guessed that the stations are those of Nelahozeves in the vicinity of Prague and of Spillville, Iowa. That the man I am talking about is Antonín Dvořák, and the music, the Czech and American melodies, which were the background for the unique New World Symphony.
Chtěl bych dnes na tomto místě připomenout, že Antonín Dvořák nebyl prvním ani posledním Čechem, který se na podobnou pouť vydal. Stovky a později tisíce a desetitisíce českých nohou kráčely po téže cestě. Ze srdce Evropy přes přístavy na východním pobřeží Spojených států do centra středozápadu Chicaga a odtud do Iovy, Nebrasky, Kansasu, Wisconsinu a do mnoha dalších míst. Mnozí z našich krajanů se usadili právě tady v Cedar Rapids. Dorazili až sem do Iovy, aby zde nalezli svobodu, prosperitu a vzájemnou toleranci. Právě tady došli k názoru, že toto je ta pravá země, což, jak jsem se dozvěděl, je vlastně původní indiánský význam slova Iowa.
Antonín Dvořák, as we know well, was neither the first nor the last Czech to undertake this kind of a journey. At first hundreds and later thousands and tens of thousands of Czech feet were treading the same path, from the heart of Europe to the harbors on the east coast of the United States, from there to the center of the Midwest, Chicago, and farther on to Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Wisconsin, and a number of other places. Many of our fellow countrymen eventually settled here in Cedar Rapids. They came here to Iowa to find here freedom, prosperity, and mutual tolerance. It was here that they felt that this is the land, which, as I have been told, is the original Indian meaning of the word Iowa.
České a slovenské národní muzeum, jehož otevření zde dnes slavíme, dokládá dobovými fotografiemi, artefakty a dokumenty tuto cestu našich krajanů. Je a zůstane pomníkem jejich odvahy, píle, vůle překonat překážky a víry v budoucnost i ve vyšší prozřetelnost. Jsem rád a cítím se poctěn, že vám dnes mohu k dokončení tohoto velkého díla blahopřát.
The Czech and Slovak National Museum, whose opening we are celebrating here today, portrays this journey of our fellow countrymen with period photographs, artifacts, and papers. It is and remains a memorial of their courage, their hard work, their readiness to overcome obstacles, and they believe in the future and in a higher providence. I am glad and I feel honored to be able to congratulate you today on the completion of this magnificent work.
Za 100 let od Dvořákovy návštěvy v Iově urazil svoji dlouhou cestu i národ, z něhož zdejší osadníci českého původu vzešli. Byla to cesta v čase, nikoli v prostoru, ale směřovala ke stejným cílům, ke svobodě, snášenlivosti a prosperitě. Po desetiletích útlaku a nesvobody jsme i my nalezli ve své vlastní zemi tu pravou zemi. Zdá se, že naše cesty dorazily do stejného či podobného bodu. Spojují nás stejné ideály, věříme ve stejné hodnoty a máme společnou vůli tyto hodnoty opatrovat a chránit. Naše často trpká zkušenost nás poučila, že je nelze brát jako samozřejmost, jako něco, co zde navěky zůstane i bez našeho přičinění a naší společné práce. Nic tento fakt nevyjadřuje lépe než motto státu Iowa. Our liberties we prize and our rights we will maintain. Tato slova vedla kroky českých poutníků sem do Iovy, ale mohla zrovna tak dobře doprovázet i naši vlastní cestu. Děkuji vám za pozornost.
During the 100 years which have passed since Dvořák's visit to Iowa, the people in which the local Czech settlers have their roots has gone a long way as well. It was a journey in time rather than in space, but the goals were the same: freedom, tolerance, and prosperity. After decades of oppression and absence of freedom, we have now reached a situation when we too can say in our home, this is the land. It seems that our respective paths have brought us to the same, or at least a similar point. We are united by the same ideals, we believe in the same values, and we share the desire to cherish and protect them. Our experience, often a bitter one, has taught us that they cannot be simply taken for granted as something that will just be there forever, even if we were to do nothing for it. Perhaps this fact is best expressed in the motto of the state of Iowa: our liberties we prize, and our rights we will maintain. It is these words that guided the steps of the Czech travelers here to Iowa. They might as well have guided our own steps on our own journey. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Clinton.
Thank you. Thank you very much. President Havel, President Kovac, Governor Branstad, Senator Harkin, Congressman Leach, Mayor Serbisek, Mr. Schaefer, Mr. Hruska, Ambassador Albright. Ladies and gentlemen, if we have not demonstrated anything else about the Czech and the Slovak heritage of Iowa, we have certainly shown to these two presidents that you are a hardy people. I thank the Czech Plus Band for playing today. I thought they did a marvelous job, and we thank them. I am proud to stand here with these two presidents, each a pioneer and a patriot, each leading his nation through an epic transformation, each representing the promise of Europe's future. And their presence today reflects our growing partnership, as well as the deep roots of their people in the soil of Iowa. I will never forget visiting Prague in the January of 1994. The first time I had been there in 24 years, and walking across the magnificent Charles Bridge with President Havel. I remembered then all the young people I had met there a quarter century before, and how desperately then they had longed for the freedom they now enjoy. In his devotion to democracy and through his courage and sacrifice, Vaclav Havel helped to make the dreams of those young people a reality, and the world is in his debt. President Kovac stands with us as a leader of a newly independent nation with a proud heritage and a hopeful future. Mr. President, we know your job has been and continues to be difficult, and the United States supports your personal strong commitment to openness and reform as Slovakia takes its place within the family of democratic nations. And we thank you for your leadership. Here in America's heartland, the heart of Europe beats loud and clear. Czech immigrants first came to Cedar Rapids in the middle of the 19th century. Soon, a little Bohemia had blossomed in the city, where Czech culture flourished in journalism, music, and drama. Today, that proud heritage is as vibrant as ever. 1 in 5 residents of Cedar Rapids is of Czech descent, including your mayor. There are 8 major Czech American organizations in this city, and through the Czech school, American children learn the language and traditions of their ancestors an ocean away. Just a few steps from here, the shops of Czech Village are filled with authentic crafts and home cooking. I think it's fitting that in this celebration of American diversity, we have a city which produces both Quaker oats and kolaches. In Iowa and beyond, Americans of Czech and Slovak descent have added richness and texture to our American quilt. The values they, like so many other immigrants, brought from their homelands, love of family, devotion to community, taking responsibility and working hard, these values flourished in America and helped America to flourish. In the mid-19th century, thousands of Czech settlers farmed America's new frontiers, an experience immortalized in Willa Cather's novel, My Antonia. Slovak immigrants brought their skill and strength to the urban Northeast and the Midwest, where they helped to build heavy industry in oil and steel and coal. The children and grandchildren of these early pioneers, as well as more recent arrivals, have been generous with their gifts to America. Filmmakers like Milos Forman have challenged our imagination. Students of the humanities have been enlightened by Jaroslav Velikan. And stargazers stand in awe of Captain Eugene Cernan, the last human being to leave his footprints on the moon. From City Hall to Capitol Hill, individuals like Congressman Peter Visklosky of Indiana, former Congressman Charles Vanek of Ohio, and former Senator Roman Haruska of Nebraska have served our country with distinction. Our dynamic ambassador to the United Nations, Madeleine Albright, who is here with me today, was born in Prague. And as I have told President Havel several times, the Czech Republic is the only nation in the world that has 2 ambassadors at the United Nations. The National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library we are privileged to dedicate here today is a wonderful tribute to 2 cultures and 2 peoples, and to the contributions Czech and Slovak immigrants and their descendants have made and continue to make to our great nation. In keeping with tradition, a dozen eggs have been added to the mortar of the cornerstone, guaranteeing that the museum will serve the public as long and proudly as the Charles Bridge in Prague. To all who have played a part in creating this great place, congratulations on your marvelous achievement. My fellow Americans, I ask you to take just one more minute to reflect on what our history and this moment mean for us today and in our tomorrows. We celebrate a special corner of our rich and varied mosaic of race and ethnicity and culture and tradition that is America. We are many different peoples who all cherish faith and family, work and community and country. We strive to live lives that are free and honest and responsible. We know we have to build our foundation, even in all of our differences, on a unity, not division, on peace, not hatred, and on a common vision for a better tomorrow. We know that our motto, A Pluribus Unum, is more than a motto, it's a national commitment. As we deal with all the remarkable changes that are moving us from the Cold War to the global village, from the industrial to the information and technology age, we have to remember that we cannot keep the American dream alive here at home unless we continue to make common cause with people like President Havel and President Kovac. Unless we continue to stand for freedom and democracy and peace around the world. The United States has made a real contribution to the march of freedom, democracy, and peace, and accelerating the dismantling of our nuclear weapons so that now, for the first time since the dawn of the nuclear age, there's not a single nuclear missile pointed at a single American citizen. We are working with people all around the world to combat the dangers of terrorism and the proliferation of weapons of destruction. We have tried to be a force for peace and freedom from the Middle East to Northern Ireland to Haiti, and most recently in Bosnia, where we are hoping and praying that the peace talks will succeed and that the ceasefire will turn into a genuine peace agreement. All of that, of course, especially affects the efforts of these two presidents to secure their own people and their future. The Czech Republic, Slovakia, other nations in Central Europe, they're working hard to build the democracy and foster the prosperity that we sometimes take for granted. They've made an awful lot of progress in the face of real challenges, and we have to continue to stand by them by opening the door to new NATO members, by supporting their integration into the other institutions of Europe, by improving access to our own markets and enabling them to move from aid to trade. The Czech and the Slovak people who came to the United States helped us to build our country. It's time for us to return the favor. More and more Americans are investing and becoming economic partners. There was $300 million worth of economic transaction with the Czech Republic and about $100 million with Slovakia last year, with much more in the pipeline. And I have to say a lot of that was due to the extraordinary personal efforts of one distinguished citizen of Iowa, the head of the Overseas Private Investment Corporation, Ruth Harkin, who is here with us today, and I thank her for her efforts. Making these countries economically strong and helping them to be free and to stay free is the best way to ensure that American soldiers never again have to shed their blood on Europe's soil. It's also good business for us, as you well know. Cedar Rapids is the largest exporting city per capita in the entire United States. Foreign trade creates jobs here. But we have to do this because it's also the right thing to do. For 45 years, we challenged the people of these nations to cast off the yoke of communism. They have done it, and we dare not abandon them now. We have an obligation to work together so that all our people can enjoy the rewards of freedom and prosperity in the 21st century. I believe the citizens of Cedar Rapids understand that. Those of you of Central European descent have to know it and feel it in your bones. But all of us as Americans should feel it in our hearts. For we believe the American dream is not for Americans only. It is for every hardworking man and woman who seeks to build a brighter future, every boy or girl who studies hard and wants to learn and live up to their dreams, every community trying to clean its streets of crime and pollution and build a better future for all the people who live there, every nation committed to peace and progress. That dream belongs to every citizen of the world who shares our values and will work to support them. President Havel, President Kovac, my fellow Americans, as we celebrate the opening of this marvelous museum, a monument to those who had faith in the American dream and who struggled to make it come true for themselves and their children, let us resolve to work together for hope and opportunity for all who are reaching for their dreams. Thank you, and God bless you all.
we're going to go back to the museum where right now the three presidents are touring the museum and talking to each other, and Lori and Joe are out there with some of the crowd members that have remained after the speeches ended. Lori and Joe?
Hey there. This is, like you said, folks are slowly but surely making their way out, and you know, there was just a really good crowd today, even though it was kind of chilly.
Absolutely. I was talking to some of the officers that were working the crowd, and they estimated probably about at least 4,000 to 5,000 people, and on a day like today, that's some brave, hardy souls. But you know what the bravest and hardiest souls out here today?
Who's that?
The band members. How would you like to play an instrument like this made of brass on a day like today with wind chills down probably about 30 degrees?
That's cold. That takes a brave soul.
We were not allowed in with live cameras while the presidents were inside the museum, but there was pool coverage, which means one camera is allowed in. Actually, it was a TV9 camera, and they were able to videotape some of the activities, some of the events in there. And this is inside the museum now, where you see President Clinton. To his left is Michael Kovac, and to his right, Vaclav Havel, and this is the signing ceremony of the kiosk inside the museum.
Was this after they took the tour? Do we know?
I believe it was.
Okay,
yes.
So when they first went in after the speeches, I believe they took a 15-minute tour of the museum, and then following that, I assume they had their meetings, and then now as you're watching the signing of the kiosk. Okay.
Now, this is taking place before they are sitting down for the talks, the diplomatic discussions that President Clinton is having with each of the presidents. It looks like they have their names written, already printed in underneath the signatures. So.
That's right. They knew where to sign on the dotted line, and then I guess they went out and waved to people.
They had another photo opportunity, we call it, out on the terrace.
From the balcony. They braved the cold weather one more time. They'd been in to warm up for a few minutes and
looking away,
overlooking the scenic river there.
It must have looked a little different to them because when they were outside earlier, they had quite a few people outside. Of course, that was at the other end of the museum. This is the back of the museum as it faces the Cedar River. But this is what we call a photo opportunity, where the photographers, news photographers, are able to just basically get a picture of the three
More pictures
together.
of the three presidents in one city.